What is up, Survivor Social fans? It is a new season. We are so excited to be bringing coverage to you all. Obviously, as you can all see, we've got an amazing new co-host here, Cara. We are so excited to have you. How are you doing?
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. I'm doing great. So exciting.
I love to kind of get into like if we have a guest or if we have somebody like what their Survivor background is. So why don't you tell us a little bit about like when did you start watching Survivor and maybe your favorite season or something?
Okay, so I'm kind of new to Survivor, just like COVID, pre-COVID, like around that time is when I started watching. My brother started watching it first, and then he was like, Cara, you have to watch. So he got me into it, and ever since then, hooked onto it. So that, and the first season I watched was Cagayan, so that's my favorite season for sure.
Cagayan is so good. Oh my gosh, you can't imagine how people last night were saying Cagayan is my favorite season. It's everyone's favorite for a reason. Like it's iconic for a reason. So I have another question. I have a follow-up question. Obviously, last night at the episode, we saw the Sweat or Savvy challenge come back. And my question to you is, would you choose Sweat or Savvy?
Ooh,
right? It's hard.
I don't know. I feel like I don't think I personally would want to be the one to have to do it if I was in that position. But I feel like savvy. I think I would go savvy.
I think I would probably want to do neither, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that I probably would want to do Sweat, especially who was it? It was Ben who was doing the Savvy challenge, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm dyslexic," and I'm like, "I'm dyslexic," and I'm like, I could not do that. Like, I would have to make sure I knew what the Savvy was before I volunteered for it, because I would get it wrong and I would feel really bad. But really great premiere episode, 2 hours. We got a 2-hour premiere, which was amazing. And also we got to go to Bryce and Wen last night.
Yes.
How much fun did you have?
It was so much fun. Being at a watch party like that and just being around so many Survivor fans is so much fun. Like the energy is just unmatched, and being with actual Survivor players too is just so much fun.
There's nothing like watching. It's like watching. I mean, there is something like it's like watching sports. It's like it's my sport, and I get to be in like a bar, and we're all screaming and going, oh! It's like, it's unmatched. It's so much fun. And last night was honestly, I'm shocked that neither of us lost our voice.
I know it was so loud in there.
So loud, and I usually come out of that zero voice, or like this or something like that. So that's honestly a win to start off, because I can talk like a normal person today. But let's get into the episode 1. Let's start off with, how are you feeling about the cast?
I love the cast.
Me too.
I was a little skeptical when I saw the trailer after season 45. I was like, "Ooh, I don't know how this is going to be." But ever since, like, watching all the interviews and all the press and everything, and the first episode, love the cast. I think everyone is great.
Everyone is so good, and everyone brings such different, like, I feel like we haven't seen somebody like Hunter in a little bit. And I love seeing, like, we'll talk about this later in the episode, but I love seeing the like dynamics between Hunter and Tevin. That was so much fun. And I just think that the cast, they just make me smile. The casting, new people hate on New Era. The one thing they can't hate on, in my opinion, is the casting, because I think it's so good. And how would you feel when you got on, like, if you were on Survivor on that beach? Like I feel like I'd be throwing up. I mean, Ben threw up on the on the boat, but I feel like I would have been already throwing up still.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that first feeling when you pull up on the boat there and you're standing there in front of Jeff. That feeling, there's probably no better feeling than that. There can't be a better feeling.
There cannot. I feel like there's not. Definitely not. But let's get into these original, like, kind of tribe dynamics. So I don't hate me, people in the comments, but I really don't remember the names of each tribe and which one corresponds. So I'm going to go with colors. for now. I'm sorry. Sorry. So let's go with purple. Purple has Tiffany, Kenzie, who else? Q. It had Jonalinski. Sorry to your. I know.
I don't want to talk about it yet.
We'll talk. Yeah, we'll postpone that until later. Jess. So how did you feel about these tribe dynamics?
I feel like it started out strong. I feel like early on they were starting to make bonds, make alliances, and I felt like that like a lot for like honestly all three tribes. I felt like they started playing right away. Like they wasted no time making alliances, naming alliances, and
the names.
Like the names.
The names. Charlie's Angels, the Andy Griffith Show. Like so good. I was talking to somebody, I was like, I feel like there's a little bit more Big Brother coming through to this like Survivor season because everyone's like naming it, and I love it because they are great. But I do agree, like I thought that they were getting on really well, and I'm not gonna lie, I did think the Purple Tribe was gonna do much better. There was something about like from their photos, I just really thought that they were gonna mesh really well together and that they were gonna be the tribe to beat. I was clearly wrong.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they ended up losing the challenge and whatever, but like I feel like you can tell between them and the other two that they don't have that same dynamic as the other two tribes. Something about it, like, I don't know, maybe it is because they lost the challenge. Maybe that was hard on them or whatever. But I don't know, something about it didn't seem like they meshed as well as the other two.
Yeah, and let's talk about another one of the tribes, the Green Tribe. Who's on that? That's got to be Ben. Who else is on that tribe? So I don't know. I feel like is that the Charlie's Angels? I can't remember.
Yes, it is.
I think it is. Yeah. So I really thought that was interesting. And Tim, I believe, is on that. That's a big thing to talk about. Tim really not wanting to get out a woman.
Yeah.
He said it over and over and over again.
He has a mom. He has a grandma. He knows women.
He knows women. So here's the thing. So how do you feel about this, like the elusive all women's alliance? Because people are always very scared of it, but they never really happen.
No, they really never do happen. It's so rare to see a girls' alliance work.
Yeah.
They always try and start, but it never really comes to anything.
It very rarely goes forward. And the funny thing about all of this is Tim kept saying like, oh, the women are going to go and gun for the men. And the seasons that these players had just watched were 43 and 44. And 43 and 44, I mean, famously in my world, but they famously 5 women in a row were the first people voted out in 43 and 44. Yeah. And I'm like, Tim, what? Are we watching the same show? Like, and also 43 and 44, 2 men won. So it's just like, I'm like, I don't understand what you're getting at, but he kept bringing it up. And I'm like, Tim, you need to stop talking because you're digging yourself a hole. And I think you should probably stop.
Stop while you're he might be right for this season. Cause so far on all of the tribes, like at least 2 women are always like, she's my girl. I got her. True. So I feel like this might be a season where we get a girls' alliance.
Maybe. And honestly, I would be so here for it because we almost got one last season, like almost.
So close.
But it never, it never really follows through. It never goes through. But that's okay. And honestly, Charlie's Angels, that is a women's alliance. It's 3 women and Charlie. So maybe. And here's one of the things that this is kind of a tangent, but this is one of the reasons why I think they need to move away from 3 tribes of 6, because I think the dynamics are very similar each time because it's going to be the same number of people. And like, it's never, I want to keep the players guessing. How do you feel about 2 tribes versus 3 tribes?
I'm over the 3 tribes. I don't know if it's because I'm watching Australian Survivor and seeing how the 2 tribes are, but I want to bring the 2 tribes back. I'm tired of the 3.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Like, I know, like nothing's ever fair, but like I feel like the 3 tribes it doesn't give everyone a fair shot, I feel.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I just think that there's no place to hide. And I think it's interesting some of the time. Don't get me wrong. Like some of the time I am here for 3 tribes. I'm here for all of that, but I just don't love it when it's like every single season the same thing over and over again. It's just Not interesting.
Maybe like start with 2, split into 3.
Exactly.
Switch it up a little bit.
Would love that. I would even love, honestly, start with 3, split into 2.
Ooh.
But we haven't seen that in the new era, you know?
Yeah.
We've seen like a tribe swap in, was it even a tribe swap last season? Yes, it was. We've seen a tribe swap 3 to 3, but we haven't even seen 3 to 2. So I just think that, I think more people adds a very interesting dynamic. And then I also think it kind of preps them for the merge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you know how to kind of deal with more people around. I don't know. I just, I'm tired of the 3 tribes, and I just, you know. But let's talk about the sweat and savvy. So we had the similar kind of layout. The people who won this first challenge, they got, you know, they got their machete, they got their pot, they got all the things that they needed. The other 2, the second place got to choose sweat or savvy, and the third place didn't get to choose. They just got what was left over. And, you know, we talked about what we would choose, but let's talk about how they act, like what actually happened on here. Because obviously it was Charlie and Ben who did the savvy. And I'm not going to lie, I was kind of confused with what was going on with this, with the savvy challenge. I was just like, there are a lot of words, there's a combination, and I trust that they understand what's going on, because I don't know that I understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
That one had a lot happening where you had to find so many different words, put different words in the puzzle together that aren't even near each other. I don't know. There was a lot going on that one.
There was so much going on, and I just wasn't, I don't know. It was okay. But the sweat is the thing that I really want to talk about. So we know Jonalinski and Q decided that they were going to volunteer for the sweat. I feel like if you volunteer for this, it's kind of a lose-lose situation almost.
Yeah.
If you're stuck doing it, you're separated from your tribe for who knows how long. Several hours, 7 hours. Yep. Is several 7? It's not, right?
Oh my gosh. No.
If you're in the live chat, let us know if you think several is 7. Because I now, in my head, several now means 7 to me in my heart of hearts.
Totally. I mean, like, it makes sense.
It kind of makes sense, but I just think it's so funny. Like, it's just so specific. Because Jonalinski's an icon for that. Let me just say.
If he didn't think that, I think that would have changed the game for him.
Do you think so? Like, do you think he would have like kept going, or did you think he was just trying to find an excuse to stop?
I want to believe that he wouldn't have tried to quit if he knew what it meant.
True. That's true. That's true. Now, the throw of the hourglass was so dramatic. My jaw dropped. He threw that thing.
He wasted no time to throw it.
He wasted no time. When he decided it was done, he was like, I need to throw something, and I need to throw something now.
Yeah.
It was such a good moment, though. Like, I love that this was something that happened in the first episode. I will say, I think it's a very funny thing that, you know, we're in season 46 of Survivor, and we have somebody throwing an hourglass, when in season 41 and 42 of Survivor, I bet you that there are, 12 people who wish that they could have thrown their hourglass. Thrown it out the window. Except for Erica. Erica is very happy with the hourglass, but
definitely. I saw a funny tweet about the hourglass and how like the Survivor intern who had to pick up all the glass off the sand.
Oh my gosh. That thing broke like it was not even made. It was so
he used all his strength to throw it.
He really did. Now here's the question. Do you think he really also needed to quit if he can still throw that so far?
Yeah, no, I don't think they needed to quit. I think they could have just kept going, and if they didn't finish it, they didn't finish it. Just like the savvy guys.
Yeah.
Like, they did it until they couldn't anymore. So I feel like that probably would have been the better move for them than just not doing it.
I agree. And here's where I think maybe age comes into this, because so Jonalinski was the youngest person on the cast. He's 21 years old. So if he's not the youngest person ever on Survivor, we have had 21-year-old winners before with like Marianne, like Fabio. So it's not like unheard of for people who are in their early 20s, specifically like 21 years old, to do really well on Survivor. But I do think that when you're a little bit older, you have a little bit of a greater perspective on how other people are perceiving you. Jonalinski left that thinking that he had an ally in his pocket.
Yeah.
And Q was like, I don't want to work with somebody who's willing to throw, just give up halfway through. So I just think that if he maybe Q is just very good at hiding what he was thinking on his face, and maybe he gave no indication. But I think that is probably the first nail in Jonalinski's coffin. What do you think?
I completely agree. It just wasn't the right move for him.
Yeah.
I agree. That was the beginning of the end for him.
It really was. It really was the beginning of the end. I think is a really good way to put it. And then here's where I think is the next. Let's talk about the next thing. Let's talk about the journey.
Ooh, yeah,
the journeys. The journey. Now, how do you feel about journeys overall?
I think they're a little scary. Like, if you're in that position, I feel like that's a scary position to be in, to have to decide, do I want to go on this, or do I stay back here and let someone else go? Because you just never know, like, if they're lying to you when they come back, or if you could have had the advantage that they come back. I don't mind them on the show. I
don't mind them either. If you were on this season, though, would you want to go? Because I feel like most of the time, and if you're watching, let us know in the comments if you would want to go on one of these journeys, because I don't know that I would personally, because I feel like most of the time it's either you gain a vote or you lose your vote. I feel like you don't really get idols. I feel like you don't really get really much else other than extra votes. And are extra votes that worth it?
Yeah, I don't think I would personally want to go either, because I feel like I'd rather stay back at the camp, talk to everyone, make those relationships, and then just coming back and having to come up with a story. I feel like that would just be the worst part. In the whole scenario.
Exactly. And are you going to tell the truth? Are you going to lie? Are people going to believe you?
No one's ever going to believe you.
No one's ever going to believe you. And also, here's another thing. Jonalinski was separated from the tribe for who knows how long, 2 or 3 hours, trying to do the sweat challenge. So he's going to separate himself again going on this. So even if he really did want to go and it was going to be really great for his game and all this stuff, I don't think it would have been the right choice either, because this was prime bonding time. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And I don't know. I feel like that was another step towards, it's too big of a risk. We have we're also live on TikTok, people who are live other places. We have Richard, saying it's too early to go on a journey. Plus, staying on the island with your team is better in the early stages, especially on a small tribe. Totally agree with that, Richard. And then we have Aurora. I wouldn't want to go on a journey anymore because everyone knows how they work now. Huge target. Yeah, I do think it paints a target on your back.
Definitely.
Now let's talk about the challenge at the journey, on the journey. How did you feel about this? The different, the different cards that were out, and you kind of had life, you had the skull. How did you feel about that?
It was interesting. It was an interesting twist on what they have to do when they get there. I think unfortunately, again, for Jonalinski, this was just this was bad luck for him.
Really bad luck.
Really bad.
Just like, I think I saw somebody say that the best move that he could have made was just lied really poorly. Like, been like, I definitely have this. Because if you draw the skull, it's kind of like a no-win situation, right? You're either lying really well to two people, and these two people now know, oh, this person can lie, and you then take their votes away from them, or you lose your vote. So I feel like if you have the skull, there's no correct way to go through, No,
the only thing, like, I saw someone else say this, and I think it's so true. He could have handled it better when he went back to camp, and that could have made all the difference for him. Like, but also, okay, while this was happening, like, Maria, right?
Yeah.
The way that she phrased it to him, like, was kind of like a no-brainer for him to be like, totally, I'm lying. Like, I have this goal, like, take it. Like, because in that situation, how can you really continue lying to her.
Yeah.
You know, I would have folded too. I would have been like, nope.
And I think that shows Maria that's a very smart move on Maria's part.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, she knew what she was doing. She knew how to play him. And she did. She played him and she got what she wanted. And she and Tevin left with extra votes.
Yeah,
and
that was fantastic.
It's very fantastic. And yes, she did exactly what she needed to do. And Jonalinski folded because of that. But Jonalinski really didn't need to go back and be like, here's exactly what happened to the T. He really could have omitted some things.
Yeah, he didn't. He could have just been like, she picked wrong. She picked me. I had the skull, and that was it.
Yep, he could have done that. He could have said everything he said, and then instead saying, you know, she picked correct. She thought that I had a skull. I'm a really bad liar. I'm sorry, guys. I lost my vote. He didn't have to say he gave up and essentially gave 2 people extra votes.
Yeah, he could have left that part out.
Yeah,
completely.
You have it's the interesting thing about Survivor, especially like this kind of this is almost like a social strategic move that he was trying to do here, right? He was trying to help 2 people not on his tribe maybe gain a bridge later on in the season. But the thing is that the balance that you have to find on Survivor is playing for the now, but also playing for the long term.
Yep.
And it's such a hard balance. It's such a difficult balance to find. And I think in day 1, day 2, you need to just not even think about the long term, because you have to just make it, especially if your tribe, I mean, obviously he didn't know that his tribe was going to go to tribal council, but you just really have to think of how can I make people closest to me, people in my tribe, trust me, or how can I make it so that they think that they trust me? And this was just one of those things that just ended up being wrong and very unfortunate again for Jonalinski. Can I also talk about really quickly the cards? The shuffling seemed
a little sus.
I didn't love that I wish they could have just like gone into a bag and drawn it out.
Yeah.
It seems
definitely.
like I could have like like it seemed like the hat game at like a like which baseball the hat. Like I was like, I feel like I could follow that. I don't know, maybe not. But and Tevin seemed to be doing it really slow too.
That was that's kind of unfair. Yeah, totally. Right. Like, and how do they decide that he was the one who gets to shuffle them?
True. I didn't even think about that. Yes, exactly. Worked out for Maria and Tevin, but poor Jonalinski. Poor Jonalinski drew the skull. That's never good. That's never good. Oh, what did I just do here? Sorry, guys. But you know, we get back to the tribe, but we do think Jonalinski is in an alliance. Let's talk about an alliance. He's in an alliance. He's in an alliance with Q, with Tiffany, and with Kenzie.
Yeah. So he's in the majority. He has the 4.
He is in the majority. And I feel like it takes a lot to have, I mean, granted, here's the thought that I want to say. How much time do you think it takes on Survivor to actually have a solid core alliance? Because I think it's a good idea to have a 4 like early on, but I really feel like it wasn't like they betrayed him because it's only been 2 days or a day.
Yeah. I do feel like the relationships you make in those first couple days are probably going to be the strongest ones that you have, but it is like day 2, day 3. So like how strong, nothing is really that strong at that point.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I feel like was getting rid of him the best move for the rest of them, you know, especially for the small tribe. And well, I mean, they didn't win the challenge, but like for future challenges, you don't know what they're going to be. You might need, I don't know.
And that's also an interesting thing because you think about it, like I think we sometimes see in these new eras, people are willing to vote out a strong person. And I don't know why that is. I'm very much interested in it because I am totally here for that's another instance of playing the short game versus playing the long game. And I think that if people are willing to vote out their stronger players, I think that's, you know, playing for the longer game. But here's another question. even if he's physically strong, if he's not mentally willing to push through, then is he really even that strong? We did see him stop doing things. I don't like the word quit, but stop doing things. Poor Jonalinski's been called a quitter so much on the internet. But stop doing things a lot, or doing things kind of like halfway. And if you're not really willing to do some things like mentally, then are you really bringing that strength to the tribe?
That's a good point too. Yeah, like he started a lot of things, but he was never able to complete any of the things that he started.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
it's
yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
But I was just gonna say, but then you see Jess, who was also on the tribe, who was kind of all over the place, like not really mentally there either, not really doing much, saying much. So like why keep one over the other,
And I think honestly that comes back to just the target, the size of the target. Jess didn't really make any big noticeable mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Jonalinski had multiple noticeable mistakes. And I think that's when you have so many mistakes, I think that's even when your social game, when you're not able to even make up for it with your social game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you, and especially early on when you just want to make sure that you have your flint, or you want to make sure that you're winning these rewards or whatever it is. Jess, yes, she wasn't like connecting in some ways to people, but she also wasn't making these like big mistakes.
Yeah.
And so I think now that they have given her some time, that she's still in the tribe, I think we'll see that change.
Mm-hmm.
I think she'll be willing to do more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like maybe this isn't her wake up call. Like she's gonna need to start doing a little more. And then, I forgot what I was gonna say. I was thinking of something.
It's when you think about that. Let me also add, it's almost giving like last season when Emily was almost voted out.
Mm-hmm.
And because Hannah kind of sacrificed herself, said, I don't want to do this anymore, Emily ended up being one of the biggest players on 45.
Yeah.
Emily was there and she completely changed her game, did a complete 180, and she found her bearings. She got her sea legs and she continued forward. So maybe we're going to see that with Jess. Maybe Jess is going to realize, kind of to understand what's going on and make sense of it in her head. And maybe we'll see her just like continue on forward. What do you think about that?
That would be awesome. I hope that's the case. What I was gonna say was, like with Jonalinski, I feel like after that, what you're getting with him. Like how he is, how he's gonna play. Like what he showed in those first 3 days, he's probably not gonna change that much going forward. With Jess, I feel like she's a wild card more than him. Like him, you know what you're getting. Her, you don't know. So I feel like that would be my thinking. I'm like, I know what I'm getting with him.
True.
So why not keep him as opposed to someone I don't know where her head's at. I don't know what they're thinking, what they're going to do.
Absolutely. I think that's a very good point as well. There's always, the things that you do know versus the things that you don't. Like I'm trying to think of like an analogy, because I feel like there's something like that I was thinking about with the seasons of Australian Survivor, because Australian Survivor this season, there has been a lot of like, interesting vote offs and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's sometimes better to be able to keep that person that you can't trust, but why you can't trust them, or you know what their flaws are and how their mind works. But you can kind of still work with that. And I think that's a very good observation and a really good point, Cara, because that's a huge thing too. You need allies, to that, people that and you can understand and you can move forward with.
Yeah. I'd rather know what I'm working with than be with someone I have no idea what they could do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I have some comments here on the TikTok side of things. Aurora says, I love Jess. I hate that in recent seasons, the introverted players get voted out so quickly. I think that is a big hurdle for a lot of people, because it's all about bonding in those first couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about getting to know each other. It's all about finding common ground. And if you can't do that, then why would people put their neck out for you?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Kenzie said it great. Kenzie was talking about how she was like, I feel like I'm everyone's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I think she even said like she's the belle of the ball or whatever she said. But it's, you know, having people like care about you and want to protect you, I think is a very, very important thing in the very beginning beginning stage of the game. And I think that makes it very difficult for introverted players. What do you think about that?
Totally. It's huge to have people that want to work with you, trust you right off the bat. It's huge to have that. And I feel like especially on this season, like there's so many big personalities that if you're not one of them, you stand out. It's noticeable that you're not part of the big personalities. So that
Absolutely. That's so true. And here's another thing. Well, let's talk about a little bit about these big personalities, because like let's talk about Kenzie for a second, because she did say that everyone was coming up to her, everyone was wanting to talk to her, but that almost makes me nervous.
Yeah.
It's giving Caleb a little bit.
It's tricky when that's happening, because it's like, okay, they all trust you, so why would you not be the next target? Why would you not get someone out that you know everyone is comfortable with?
Exactly. If everyone knows that they like you and that they're comfortable with you and that they, you know, like having you around, then I think you are the biggest social threat out there. And I think a lot of people would be gunning for you because of that. I feel like Tevin has a similar issue. I don't know if Tevin's hitting it off right away with, you know, everyone, but I know like Hunter, you know, they have a bond. And I just it always makes me nervous, because I think they're very entertaining, really great television. But if you are talking to everyone, if everyone wants to be your friend and everyone wants you to vote with them, they will talk also. The other players are going to talk still.
Yeah.
So what if they talk to each other and figure something else out? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And yeah, it's a good spot and a really tough spot to be in, because it really can go either way. You can either get lucky where they're not talking about it. Maybe they don't want to talk about who they like and who they're aligning with. And then you're good, because you could just stay comfortable with everyone. But as soon as someone starts talking about it, everyone's going to realize it, and then you're done for.
And I feel like Kenzie might be in a better spot than maybe I'm giving her credit for, because I think Tiffany and hit it off really well.
Yeah. Especially, yeah, with Tiffany found the beware advantage and immediately told Kenzie. So right there, she trusts her already. You're not gonna, I mean, I guess people tell people they have an advantage or whatever that they don't trust, but I feel like telling someone that's a big thing. You have to trust someone and tell someone that.
Absolutely. And I think wasn't she also there when she found the idol? Or she was helping her decipher it, right? And so that is an alliance right there. It's giving the last season, the Reba 4. And I'm really excited about that. Let's talk about the Beware advantage a little bit.
Yes.
How do you feel overall about Beware advantages? Are you pro Beware advantage? Against Beware advantage?
I'm like not completely against them. I think it's a fun twist, but I feel like they could just throw in like not a beware advantage once in a while, you know, switch it up.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if it stays the same too long, I always do this and it gets boring. But here's the thing. I kind of like this beware advantage. So somebody commented on one of my videos, and I'm recently, and saying like, I don't understand why they even said that you lose your vote until you lose the tribal, or until you lose immunity challenge. Isn't that when you need like what that kind of seemed redundant the way it was like phrased. And I totally get where that person was coming from, but I kind of think that doing it like this is very interesting, because when you find a beware advantage, you in theory can immediately start working on your task. So if you find the beware advantage and you're given a task, you can start, you know, digging for a hammer, or you could, you know, start burning the wax in the fire, or whatever it is. You have that ability. But this beware advantage is saying, you found this. Congratulations. Good for you. You're not going to be able to work on this beware advantage until it is time to go to tribal council, basically. So if even if you're on like a dominant tribe and you never go to tribal council, you still will not be able to work on that advantage and find an idol until it is time to go to tribal council, basically. And I really find it interesting having them on a time clock, having like a time crunch. Because if you think about it, if you get back from the challenge, you probably have several hours before you go to tribal council, probably like 5. I don't know how long, but I'm guessing a good amount, but not a ton. Yeah. And you have to talk to people, you have to figure out who's getting voted out, you have to do all of this stuff, and you also have to decipher a code and try to get your vote back. I think it adds a very interesting level.
It was a good twist to add into it, because it just adds so many new layers that weren't there before. So it was good. And
I think it's interesting.
And that code that she had to decipher, she did it so quickly. Like, I know that couldn't have been easy probably for anyone else. Like, she just knew it though. She was quick.
She did that so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany's my winner pick. I stand by my winner pick. I really feel very good about my winner pick, especially after this first episode. Let me just say. But yeah, it was that Beware advantage was incredible. And I'm really excited to see if the other tribes' Beware advantages are going to be the same. You know?
That will be interesting to see if it is the same. I don't know. I'm feeling like it might be a little different. I don't know why.
I hope it's a little bit different. I hope we get to, find something new. Now, I have a question. Did Tiffany told somebody that she found the Beware advantage other than Kenzie, right? Did she tell Q?
I'm pretty sure it was Q, yeah. That she didn't have a vote type
right
thing
at that point.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about telling people about advantages as a tool or just in general?
I feel like initially I'm like, no, I wouldn't tell anyone that I found anything. I wouldn't want anyone to know because they could use it against me. Right. But I feel like you can use it to your advantage in the game. That's a huge, that's leverage in the game to have something like that to play, that you can play to your advantage if you play it correctly. Mm-hmm. So I think you really have to play correctly if you're going to play it, like tell people and use it in a certain way. But if you just tell people just to tell them, then I feel like that's just a waste. You might as well just not say anything, keep it to yourself.
Absolutely. Totally agree. And I have a comment here on the TikTok live. Sam says, I get annoyed with Beware advantages because it makes it a million times harder to keep a secret. And that is true. And I kind of feel like that's by design, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like production maybe likes it when they share. Makes it a little more interesting television.
I feel like for this one, she didn't have to say anything.
Mm-mm.
There was,
especially because she figured it out so fast.
Yeah, like she didn't need help figuring out the code or anything. So this one, she could have kept it to herself and no one would have known.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think it's interesting to use advantages and idols and all that stuff as bargaining chips. I like to think, when Penner or when who was it? Yule was, giving talking about the god idol and being like, I've got this to Penner, and kind of like, if you don't do what I need you to do, then I'm going to use it against you, or whatever Yule said. So I do like it when you're using it like that. I mean, and he had of course he was going to say it. It's a god idol. There's no one anything can do. There's nothing you can do when somebody is a god idol. You're just like, oh, I guess they're going to vote me out or whatever. But I do not like it when people tell right away. Because then it doesn't even seem like a choice, like a strategic choice that's being made. It just seems like I just need to tell somebody just to tell somebody.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And I like when it's more of a strategic decision, maybe.
Me too.
I don't know.
Me too.
Before we move on to tribal council, I do want to talk one thing I did forget to bring up earlier. I do want to talk about Venus and how Venus is maybe being perceived, and also just like her being sneaky, because I thought she was very interesting on the at the premiere. I think she is really fun TV, and it's very interesting that people are thinking that she's a Parvati.
Yeah, that's
Parvati
big.
2.0. Yeah. Do you see it? Do you think Venus is the new Parvati?
I mean, Maybe. I don't know. I feel like maybe. I feel it's a little too soon to tell.
I think you're totally right. I think it is too soon to tell. I also think it's so funny. I loved her line where she was like, how dare he? I mean, he was 100% correct, but how dare he? I loved that moment because it's just that sums up Survivor perfectly, in my opinion, because it's like all of Survivor is you're trying to blindside other people or get other people out, but then you get mad if it happens to you. But she said it with a smile. She laughed about it, and it's exactly correct, like how Survivor is basically. But I think it's so funny that people really thought that she was a threat even before she was being quote unquote sneaky.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think we do kind of see a like young, maybe conventionally attractive women being perceived as a threat because they are like controlling other people. Like I'm thinking of maybe Chelsea in what was that, season 39, or Molly maybe in that, maybe 38, I can't remember, where they were, being seen as these people who were controlling everything, the queens of everything. And sometimes it's right, but sometimes it's wrong. And I find that perception very interesting.
It is so interesting how just seeing her, you're like, that they just immediately just came up with the like observation about her. Like they immediately judged her just off her sitting there, what she looks like, not knowing anything.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's interesting.
It's very interesting. And who knows if she might be like Parvati. And if that is the case, I'm very excited at the prospect of that, because I want another Parvati on my screen as soon as possible. But I just don't know. I didn't see it yet. I didn't see that Parvati in her. She was looking for an idol, yes, but she had already been like Parvati had already been attached to her name. So I don't know. And I'm very, let's see. Somebody said, Aurora in the chat says, I don't even think she didn't even seem flirty at all. She's just beautiful. You know what I mean? And who knows? Maybe we're not seeing the flirty part, but I don't know. I think it's interesting.
I'm excited to see her in this game. I'm excited to watch her because in her like press prior to the season, she talked about like being a villain and villains and things like that. So I'm excited about that, even though I know Jeff is anti-villain now. But I think she could be a really good character.
I agree.
Hopefully.
I absolutely agree. Why don't we talk and let's talk about the Green Tribe. What's the Green Tribe called again? I don't know. I'll figure this out by next week, everybody. Amazing, incredible, iconic. Yes. We've got Jem, and that's the Charlie's Angels. And I'm super, we talked a little about Tim, but I'm very excited to see, Maria, Mariah, and Jem click so quickly. I think that they are, I don't know. I just feel like one moment they were meeting each other and the next moment they were clicking and they were together. And I was like, that's incredible.
Yeah, the vibes on that tribe just seem great. Right off the bat, everyone seemed to get along. It seems like a great time on the Sega tribe.
Absolutely. It's honestly, going back to what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, I really love this cast. Soto was singing camp songs. Hunter was saying, I hate camp songs. Yeah. It was wonderful. It was so funny and great.
Yeah, it's such a great dynamic.
I love that. So let's get into tribal council. Let's get into the end of the episode. Obviously, if you've watched Survivor Social before, you know that we don't really care about the challenges. So the challenges happened. Okay, great. Was it Yanu is the purple tribe? They are they're going to tribal council, as we were talking about. It was between Jonalinski and Jess, and obviously Jonalinski was the one to go home. Any big moments from tribal council that you were like, wow, that just happened?
Yeah, I feel like Jonalinski was saying we a lot about him and Q, and I feel like that wasn't good for him at all, because that was not making Q happy to be lumped into someone that just lumped into that, just like we're stopping the sweat task or whatever. So that wasn't really good. And then just like the whole going back and forth between him and Jess, I thought was so interesting, especially like at the end, towards the end, when she was saying, like, I can't even think, like, I can't even put a sentence together. I feel like that was I feel like that could have been a big turning point for that tribal council.
And now the big thing, the big pre-season press that I saw, one of the big things was that Jeff is going to be tougher on the contestants. And I did feel like we saw that a little bit at Tribal Council. I don't know if it's full on sassy Jeff that we're getting back, but I do think he didn't take Jonalinski's answer at all, basically.
No, he was definitely calling him out on everything. He was like, what happened during the challenge? But you did quit. Like he was going at it with him. So it was interesting. And also Bonnie, when Jeff was asking him, like, so is it going to be Jonalinski tonight? And he was like, I think it's time to vote.
I think it's time to vote. That was such an incredible moment. I think it's time to vote is just, I love that moment so much because it's just so, I don't know. I laughed out loud when that happened. I really did. I laughed out loud. I was like, is there nothing else that you could have said, Bonnie? Nothing. That's it. Ugh. I also thought it was funny where Bonnie was having like a moment. He was having, just like, I can't believe we have to vote somebody out. Like, we're getting along so well. And Jeff is like, too bad. You got to vote somebody out. Like, that was brutal.
Yeah.
But very funny. But iconic, honestly. Like, low-key incredible. Now, here's the thing. Do you think that there was any, like, do you think it was really close between Jess and Jonalinski? Because I didn't really get that it was like, I think that maybe the edit was playing it up a little bit. But I really didn't think it was going to, like, it was that difficult of a choice for these people.
No, I think the editing made it seem like it could have gone either way, but I think they knew what they were doing coming into it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about this tribe's like going forward. How do you feel like they will do in the future? I don't know.
I kind of feel like they'll be back there next episode. I don't know.
I worry if it's another really big challenge like that. I don't know. Maybe they'll be able to figure out a way. Maybe they'll be like a well-oiled machine, but I am a little bit worried about them, especially because the other two tribes seem to be so in tune with each other.
So cohesive, and then
so cohesive.
I don't know. I hope that they do well in the next challenge and that they don't have to go back to tribal council, but
me too.
I don't know. It's not looking good right now.
We have some comments from Chris. What's up, Chris? We love when you're watching. Incredible. So Chris says a big moment was Jonalinski being unaware and blindsided. He was blindsided.
He was.
I'm shocked that he was blindsided, but he was blindsided. And then Chris also said, I don't think it was that close at all. I think that because Jess was highlighting all of her issues, it gave them something else. I think that makes sense. I don't think it was going to be a close one. I don't think it was really close, but and then we have some people thinking that like Alexander on the TikTok live thinks that they'll be back to tribal council, which makes me sad. Chris is also worried about them. He thinks Tiffany and Kenzie could very easily make it to the end. I agree with that. I mean, now that there are only 5 people in the tribe, a solid 2. And I think, honestly, it's a solid 3. I think Q, Tiffany, and Kenzie are solid.
And she has an idol.
She has an idol. Yeah. So I think that's a really solid group right there. We do have a quick ad, but make sure to stay tuned, everybody, because we're going to go through some questions that we received prior to the episode. We also have some questions in the live chat that I want to get to as well. Don't forget, it's always award season here at Survivor Social. So make sure to find out who we think is the social butterfly of this episode. And we'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome everyone to Expedition Online Season 6.
Hi everyone. Hey Queen's Army.
We've got King George and Queen Sandra.
I'm starstruck right now.
Everybody looks ready. In 3, 2, 1, go.
These questions are hard.
Ooh, Cara gets the first one.
Go ahead, Jess. You're good. Leah, go.
I feel bad throwing out names, so I will gladly go. If anyone has any ideas.
Chandra is voting for Amy.
She is.
What about Eli? What if we just blindside his ass?
For you and I, keeping our names at a conversation and then having these quick check-ins.
I feel so stressed. My palms are so sweaty.
Got another twist coming in today.
Holy shit.
Now you gotta switch into game mode. Use your emotions, use who you are.
Take every opportunity.
I promise you, I do not have the compass.
Where I don't have it.
Okay, you have a minute. We gotta vote someone.
The fact that my name was even in your mouth.
You say something in my web of people, it's coming back to me.
Don't ever be too comfortable in the game.
Glory or death. To the end.
But most importantly, play to win. And take out King George's faithful soldiers, boo.
Saw some familiar faces on that.
I love watching that trailer. It's so fun. Everyone needs to go and watch Expedition Online Season 6. You'll see me, and you can watch the drafts episode now too, which was a lot of fun seeing what Sandra and George thought of all of us.
Oh, that's so fun. Oh my gosh. That must have been incredible.
So much fun. It was a great experience getting to play.
That's incredible. So let's get into some of those questions that I got. So we have a question from Aurora. Aurora says, how about that cool tribal council set this season? Very cool.
Very fancy.
I was like shocked at how nice it was and how different it was from 45.
Mm-hmm. It's so nice. They went all out.
They really did. They really did. And I love it. And I'm kind of confused how it has anything to do with the gecko theme of the season, but
yeah,
you know what? Who cares? Who cares? It's great. It's fine. We'll just pretend that it makes sense and move on. We have another question, or it's more of a kind of a observation. Anthony says, did you notice how Jonalinski broke the fourth wall and looked into the camera when he sat down at the when they were doing the sweat for the Savvy? Did you see that?
Yes, I did. I liked it. I thought that was funny.
Very Jim Halpert of him. I loved it. I thought it was incredible. I laughed at it. I think that they should do more of that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Make like The Office, do shaky cam. Alexander asks, do you think Banu is in danger next episode?
No, I don't think so. I thought going into it he might be a target, but I feel like he's in a decent position. I feel like it's going to be Jess if they go again.
I think you're probably right. I think it'll probably be Jess unless she really makes up the ground. Or, or like, for example, let's say Q wants to pull a big move against Tiffany or Kenzie, like kind of, I'm thinking basically of what happened with Lulu last season. If, how Caleb took this big move against Sabaya, even though they were working together, like unless something like that happens, I do think that Jess is going to be going next, if they go back to Tribal Council, unless something big changes. So I don't feel like he's, going to be, targeted, but you never know. You never know. Alexander also asked, did you like how Jeff didn't pretend to not know the players' names? Like he said, that's right, Tevin. Did you notice that in the beginning?
I didn't notice that, but I did know, like, I don't know why during the first challenge, he was like saying their names. And I was like, oh, I don't know why I thought that was like, that stuck out to me more than I didn't notice that in the beginning.
Yeah, I kind of did because he didn't do the things that he normally does. It's like, guy in the blue shirt. What's your name, man? It's like,
why does he do that anyway?
I don't know. I've never understood that. I've always thought that's so funny. It's like, Jeff, who are you? Who are you fooling? You chose them. You handpicked these people. Yeah, but I thought that was so funny. I'm happy that somebody, you brought that up because that's something that I totally forgot about. Jen asks, how do you feel about the past 2 seasons in a row giving up on challenges so easily?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't really care. I don't know. I don't love Savvy versus Sweat anyway. I
agree.
Don't really care about that. I don't think it adds a very interesting dynamic. I feel like it really hasn't really ever changed much, honestly. And so, especially on the Savvy Sweat, I don't really care if they give up. Honest, I truly don't care.
Yeah, I'm over it. I think they could move on from that.
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. We also had some questions that were sent in ahead of time. Chris is an icon for that. Chris asked early on, he said, is there anyone from this cast who reminds you of a 45 player?
Ooh.
I'm getting Caleb a lot. Like, I think Kenzie kind of reminds me of Caleb. I think Tevin kind of reminds me of Caleb. I just think maybe it's just the outgoingness and like the smile and everyone wanting to be their friends, kind of.
How do you think he would have been on this season?
Caleb? I think, honestly, it maybe would have dampened his threat level a little bit, because if everyone is kind of like that, then maybe it wouldn't have been, maybe he would have made it a little bit further. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like he probably would have fit in maybe a little more with this group of people.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Who do you think anybody on this season reminds you of a 45er?
I don't know.
Casts.
Yeah, I said maybe, I think I said Venus could maybe be like a D type of player, but
interesting.
I don't know.
I kind of see that. I get that comparison. Oh, so cute. My cat's using her cat scratch. Sorry, I got distracted. We have another question from Chris. Chris asked, how do you feel Q is going to do socially? I'm a bit concerned in the long run for him. And I'm not going to lie, preseason, I was worried about Q a little bit. Some of the things he said, I was just like, I'm nervous that he's not going to be okay with things and he's going to be, too like hard-lined almost. And he was very like, I don't want to work with Jonalinski anymore because he just like gave up when I didn't want them to give up. But I think he is with people. He's with Tiffany and Kenzie, who are very, very social. And so I think that it could be like either they just work really close together or they just, I don't know. I feel like he'll be fine. What do you think?
I agree, but I also think that he could be so set in what he wants that he won't listen to what anyone else says. And we kind of already saw that a little bit when he was talking to Tiffany and Banu. And Banu was like, well, what she said was a good point. Like, we should listen to what she said. So I feel like him being set in his ways could get in the way for him.
Yeah. I think, and I do think that that's a big, yeah, I think you're totally right. I think it just depends on how flexible he is willing to be.
Exactly.
And maybe we just saw him in the one thing he's like, I am not willing to be flexible at all on this one thing. Mm-hmm. Or maybe he's like that with a lot of other things. So I think that's a really good observation, Chris. But I think, maybe not. I don't know. Okay, let's see. We also had a question. Well, this one is directed at you, Cara. Chris asked, what is your Survivor sweet thing of the week? Do you have one? Not to put you on the spot, but.
So I was thinking about this. So normally a sweet thing would be like food or something, but there's really no food to pick from on Survivor. So I decided that my Survivor sweet thing is the geckos in the challenge. The giant geckos.
The giant geckos that the internet is absolutely obsessed with. Like, I don't know if you know The Amazing Race or Big Brother, but Claire on The Amazing Race, the one she won the Amazing Race, and she was on Big Brother with she met her boyfriend Derek.
Yeah.
She was like, I now know what I'm going to be spending my Amazing Race winnings on. And she was talking about the gecko. Like, the internet is obsessed with this dang gecko.
They're just so random.
They're so random. But they're like, I don't get why they're like the theme of the season. The birds made sense to me for some reason. Each tribe name was a bird. I wonder, can someone look this up?
Oh.
Are all of these tribe names different geckos, different like species of geckos?
See, that would make sense if that's the case.
Wouldn't that be incredible? But it's like on the buffs. Like, I just like Kenzie. I don't know if I saw a picture of Kenzie's cake and that she had at her party, and it had a bunch of geckos on it. And I was like, man, they love their gecko.
There has to be more to it.
There has got to be more to it. There has got to be more to it. But I think it's pretty funny. Randy Bruce has a question. I'm going to put this on here. Venus and Soda, is that the new edition of Parvati and Sari? I honestly don't see it. I just don't really see Venus as Parvati yet. I feel like, let me just say, being a Parvati and being a Sari, you need to earn those names. I don't know that I've seen that being earned yet. What do you think?
Fair.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
it's one episode so far.
Exactly.
We need to wait a little
Give
bit.
it time. Give it time. So TBD. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Oh, we have some comments over here on TikTok before we go. Aurora says, I'm getting more 44 cast vibes from this season than 45. I kind of get that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I do see the parallels. I think that's a really good observation. I'm not saying it's not going to be like the perfect analogy, but I do get that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
And Chloe wants to know, do you have a favorite person on the season so far?
Ooh. You go first. You?
I don't know yet. It's so early to tell, right? I obviously love Kenzie. I feel like I'm a lot like Kenzie, so I really love her a lot. I also love Mariah. I love Maria. I love, even though Tim really only knows 2 women, I do also like Tim. I love Tevin. I don't know. I feel like this is a really good cast. So I think that there's a lot to love.
Yeah, I also really like Soda. If in the draft, if I didn't pick Jonalinski first, I was picking Soda.
Yeah.
So those are my 2, and then
who's your winner pick? Do you have one
now?
Oh wait, I guess Jonalinski was your winner pick. Sorry, of course.
Was my winner.
Do you have a new one?
Ooh, well now I'm going Soda.
Now you're going Soda. Okay,
I'm Team Soda now.
Amazing, incredible. That's incredible. My cat, who is climbing on something right now, I did a thing where my cats chose their winner picks, and one of my cats chose Tiffany, and the other one chose Soda.
Oh.
And my winner pick is also Tiffany. So we are, very Tiffany, pro Soda, and then Kenzie too. Ryan's, my boyfriend's winner pick is also Kenzie. So we're pro women in this household.
Yeah. Yes.
No men are winning this season. I can feel it. I'm sorry, guys. No, I don't know. All right, let's get to the awards season, the awards portion of the pod. We are going to be doing our, oh my gosh, I almost said whatever. Our Social Butterfly Award of episode 1. If you are new to the podcast and you don't know what this is going to be the award for the person that we think did the best socially. We're probably not going to do the social struggle bus this season. We might if someone deserves it. If someone deserves it, then we're coming for you. But we're going to be doing the Social Butterfly. So do you have anyone in mind for the Social Butterfly for episode 1?
Immediately who came to my mind was Maria.
Interesting. Do you have a reason why? Just because she's an icon? Because I think that
I feel like she easily was able to make connections. She made connection with Tim. She was able to connect with the other girls, and I really just feel like her move at the on the journey, I feel like that was huge, and I feel like she's just going to have a strong social game going forward, and I feel like even her and Tevin now might have something going forward if they meet up at a swap or merge. So
I love that answer. I think that's really good. We have some people in the comments, Chris saying Social Butterfly is Kenzie or Soda for him. People in the TikTok comments are saying Hey Boris saying Tevin and Mariah. Jameson is agreeing with you with Maria. Chloe is also saying Maria. So very popular one. I think I'm going to have to go with Kenzie on this one, mainly because I think she's totally right. I think that her tribe wants to be best friends with her. And I was going between Kenzie or Tiffany, but the fact that we saw more of Kenzie talking to Banu, talking to Jonalinski, talking to Q, talking to Tiffany, like just talking to Jess or trying to talk to Jess. I don't know. I think that we saw a lot of that. And so I think I'm just going to have to give it to Kenzie for episode 1. But I think that we saw a lot of really great seeds of really good social games so far. I'm really liking what we're seeing for this season.
Yeah, I think Kenzie is a great pick. She was just so social. How could she not be? She's a hairdresser. I feel like it's in her to be
exactly. Exactly. And we saw it with the Jam win. Like, I feel like you have that trust, people want to talk to you, people want to, get to know you. And I think we'll see that more going forward, hopefully. But, level of social. While we're bringing the episode to a close, Cara, why don't you talk a little bit about where people can find you on the interweb?
Okay, so you can find me at the Sweet Things podcast. We mentioned Sweet Things before. That's another place you can find me, or on Instagram at Sweet Things podcast, or at XOX_Cara on Instagram.
Incredible. On Instagram. And how often does your pod get released? Every once a week?
Yes. Every Thursday, new episode. It's me and my cousin Kateri, and we just talk about sweet things that we like. We talk about life, anything, reality TV, just anything and everything.
Fabulous. Incredible. And as always, you can find me at Tegwyth on Instagram or Survivor_simulation on TikTok. We are going to be coming to you guys every Thursday at 9 p.m. Survivor Social Thursday at 9 p.m. We are going to be taking questions from everyone ahead of time. So if you can't watch live and you want to get your questions read, make sure that you send us your questions. Usually if you just send them to Survivor Now podcast on Instagram, we will be able to see them and we'll read them here next episode. I want to thank everyone who was able to watch, who commented, who had questions. We really love talking to you guys, and we're so excited about what this season has in store for us. I think it's going to be really incredible. And before we sign off, Cara, is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we were not able to cover?
Ooh. You know what? I feel like we need to talk about how Charlie is a big Swiftie. I feel like that is the whole is just a thing.
Charlie is a big Swiftie. And I loved that moment where Charlie was talking about how much he loves Taylor Swift, or it goes, Hunter is talking about how much he does not like Taylor Swift or doesn't know about Taylor Swift. And then Charlie goes, I know everything about Taylor Swift. Incredible. The editing.
It's going to be so fun to watch.
Yes. I'm excited about Charlie. He's giving it a lot different vibes than I thought he was going to.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know what I thought he was going to bring, but it's a little bit different, and I really love it. I guess the thing that I wanted to make sure that we talked about that we didn't really is the editing. The editing of this season so far, incredible. The Tevin monologue at the beginning of the episode,
fantastic. It was
amazing.
I got
goosebumps. It was incredible. And then also the Andy Griffith song, so good, so funny.
That whole scene was just. That was great.
It was so good. Editors, we love you. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Well, thank you everybody so much to tuning in, to talking and commenting and asking us questions. We absolutely love it. We hope to see you again right here next week, 9 p.m. for episode 2 of Survivor Social. We might have a guest, we might not, TBD. But we love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely Thursday night. Bye-bye.